This is World Talks on TVP World. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and please join me and my guests on this next interview. A major escalation unfolded overnight as Russian drones breached Polish airspace during a large-scale assault on Ukraine, prompting NATO forces, including Polish, Dutch, and German assets, to intercept and shoot them down. The incursion, seen as deliberate and unprecedented, triggered consultations under NATO's Article 4 and shook security nerves across Europe. Joining us today on TVP World to analyze the implication and what lies ahead is Paulina Piasecka, director of the Terrorism Research Center at Civitas University, expert in aviation threats and regional security dynamics. Hello and welcome to TVP World.
Thank you for having me, and good evening.
So how would you assess the scale and nature of these drone incursions? Were they clearly intentional, or do you think it could have been any sort of navigational error?
While I might be tempted out of pure optimism to state that one or two drones could have been lost somewhere on their way during the attack over Ukrainian territory, I really do not believe in accidents as much to assume that 10 drones have been lost by accident over the territory of Poland. And so, yes, I do think it was intentional, and I do think it's a part of the ongoing campaign of testing Polish defense and protection system.
All right, and I think the NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte echoes that statement as well. We have a soundbite from him. Let's take a look.
A full assessment is ongoing. But of course, whether it was intentionally or not, it is absolutely reckless. It is absolutely dangerous. But as I said, the full assessment is ongoing. And to Putin, I mean, my message is clear. Stop the war in Ukraine. Stop the escalating war, which he is now basically mounting on innocent civilians and civilian infrastructure. Stop violating Allied airspace and know that we stand ready. That we are vigilant and that we will defend every inch of NATO territory.
So when it comes to testing Poland or NATO's resolve, what do you think the results are coming out of this incursion?
Well, I think the very optimistic part is that it's the formal position of the alliance as well as the European Union representatives of the highest level that state that this, well, let's call it incident, as not to prophesize any sort of catastrophe, that this incident is treated as an attack and breach not only of the Polish airspace, but at the same time, which theoretically should be obvious, the airspace of NATO and European Union. And so the solidarity seems to be there so far. The only, I think, lacking part is the clearly stated position of the strongest ally in the North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
All right, so there's a lot of ways to look at this, and most people are talking about perhaps having a gap in the air defense system that resulted in various of these drones incursion into Poland for such a long period of time. But others also praised the speed in which NATO allies come to assistance to shoot some of these drones down. Where do you stand on these, the preparedness of the alliance?
Well, nobody got hurt, and the reaction was prompt, and it was directed at the missiles and/or drones that were deemed to be the threat to the Polish citizens and potentially threatened strategic objects in Poland. So I'd say that that was a very balanced response. And while I'd love, of course, to end the war right here, right now, with a very strong and decisive action, on the political level, there's always this thinking forwards about whether or not any stronger response could be treated as a provocation by Kremlin and their allies. And so I think that was a perfectly balanced response, and I think the political and military declaration behind this coordinated response was something that we can only applaud.
Right, and from your experience as the director of the Terrorism Research Center, if these actions carried out by Russia is indeed proven to be intentional, should these incursions be treated as acts of war, asymmetrical aggression, or emerging hybrid threats?
This decision is definitely going to be a political decision. The very problem with hybrid warfare, with the asymmetric warfare, is the problem of something that's called attribution process. So how do we actually say that this is the person and the entity that stands behind the attacks? Please do note that partially the discourse, the public discourse is, maybe not full to the brim, but there are voices stating that, previously the Polish airspace has been breached and it was not the Russian missile, and so maybe we should wait further with our actions and discussions. And so to an extent it's a political decision stating that we stop debating now, we stop doubting now this is the red line that we're not going to allow anybody to cross. So it's not the matter of objective reality, right. It's the matter of political will, and this is a very tricky topic, mainly because of the fact that behind any political decision, there's always the reaction of the voters and the fate of the next election. And so it's very, very difficult to foresee what the full reaction is going to be.
All right, speaking of political will, looking at the Western allies, looking at Poland's NATO allies, how do you think that their response are appropriate, seeing that, of course, there are a lot of words of support and a lot of solidarity, but like the Polish Prime Minister stated, of course, he welcomed the words of solidarity, but a lot of times it's the action that really counts.
Yes, and it's particularly important in that instance because of the fact that it's this is the first time ever that anybody breached to this extent the airspace of any NATO ally. But the first time that happened during this incident is also the first serious threat to the stability of the NATO region after the declarations and the difficult dialogue between NATO, the rest of NATO and the US. Mm-hmm. And this is why everybody is waiting with their breath bated to see what the US is going to do, because the usefulness of NATO and its reliability as a protective system lies on whether or not the reaction will be concerted, quick, and decisive. And so, yes, I do firmly believe that we must keep our fingers crossed for this reaction to be, maybe not immediate, because in times of threat and danger, we need rational thinking rather than knee-jerk type of reactions.
Yeah, definitely keeping a cool head is more important than ever. Now, one of the things I'm observing and I find quite interesting is where Belarus plays into this, because a lot of people have been saying that these drones are coming from the direction of Belarus, but the chief of their general staff, the armed forces, actually said in the statement that Minsk has shot down some of the drones that had strayed off course due to electrical interference during the exchange between Russia and Ukraine. But looking at the direction in which the drones are coming from, it does look like a lot of them are coming from Belarus as well. Is there a game being played there?
It might be the game of Belarus not knowing that the drones were directed via its territory towards the territory of Poland. We don't fully know what the level of trust in protection of confidential information is between Kremlin and Minsk. And so it might just have been so that the Belarus was actually surprised when they saw the wave of the drones, and the first reaction that they had was the reaction, okay, we need to shoot those things down because we are not exactly sure where they're going to land. So it might even be an actual fact and actual truth, so to say, that they have shot down some of the missiles that were to fly towards the territory of Poland.
And some Belarusian officials even said that they have exchanged information when it comes to these drones coming into the Polish airspace. Do you think that there's also an attempt at perhaps hedging their bets there, seeing that, playing both sides to make sure that whoever comes out on top, they don't get left behind?
I don't know if it's about being left behind. I think it's about not being punished. It's just a gesture of goodwill. I mean, if they are wise, this is what they should be doing just in case. And by the way, we are all not only keeping our fingers crossed, but have full faith in the effectiveness of the Allied action and our ability to respond to the Eastern threat. So this would be actually not the worst course of action for the Belarus to build the goodwill and not be treated as a party equally responsible as the Kremlin and its military structures.
Right. Now, the Russian-Belarusian drill as a pod exercise is on the horizon. Is there any scenarios where Poland and NATO should prepare for next? Any sort of warning system, coordination mechanism, or something to kind of keep an eye out just in case?
Well, we definitely need to keep an eye just in case. The reality of the drones being lost and missiles also losing their way, and the countless then chances and risks that something bad is going to happen just because there might be lots of those flying over the heads of not only Poles but also citizens of the other countries with jamming of the GPS systems and targeting systems. So definitely to keep an eye out. But I would not definitely say that we shouldn't disregard the idea that there might be some type of provocation, some type of further testing of how we would react to an action that might signal aggressive intentions on the part of both Russia and Belarus.
All right, thank you so much for your input and insight. Really appreciate it, and thanks for being with us on TVP World.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. And thank you for tuning into this edition of World Talks. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.